Welcome to the APL Spotlight Series, a subset of the APL show. Incredible guests the world over with incredible insights. All these guests who are presenting for us, sharing with us, have been through some form of a transformative journey. Sometimes it's a near-death experience. Sometimes it's what they term awakening or an awakening. They've quite often decided to give service to others, which is what makes this show so much fun, whether it's the APL Spotlight Series or, again, the regular APL show. Today, we've got a guest from the APL show. We're going to have her back as much as possible. She's in the Bahamas, originally from England. It's Julie Hoyle. She's incredibly talented, a gifted healer. She helps others, guides others, helps seekers stop the seeking and begin enjoying the ride and to tap what they've already got within. She's hyper trained with an India background for a lot of it, but some other areas too. She's about to share a lot with us. Julie, good seeing you again.
Thank you so much. You know, I always love spending time with you. So thank you for inviting me. It's great.
Well, it's very good to see you again. It feels good. Again, I'm always just lucky to have you here. So thank you for coming on the show. Where can we begin? There are so many topics in spirituality, our own personal growth, our life paths, and our own unique stories going on. Where do you want to start today?
You know, I would really love to start with what you were, referencing in the opening. And that is when you said something along the lines of that after an awakening, we decide to give service. And what I would say from my own direct experience is that all of that, the drive to serve does not come from the mind. It's not an intellectual decision. You know, I think in the West, we're used to believing and feeling that we're the ones in charge. We decide something and then it happens, or we try and make it happen. And the opposite is true when we have an authentic awakening. Because I always say it's kind of like a tsunami comes into the space and it carries you along with it. And in many ways, there's no kind of intellectual volition. There's just this supremely feel right quality that moves in, and you know that you have to follow it. And if you don't follow what you're being guided to do, then you can feel a bit sort of depressed. And I'm sure you've had your own experiences with that. Absolutely. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here having this conversation. So it's almost like grace. Another way of putting it is grace moves in and it kind of guides us and shows us where it wants us to go. And it's the greatest joy to be able to give service from that place. And even the most kind of unsettling or overwhelming directive to do something, it doesn't have any weight in terms of, you know, should I do it, shouldn't I do it, what if it fails, and all of that, because somehow you just always know that you'll be supported. And I've got example after example in, you know, in my own life of how that's manifest.
Can we back up for 1 second into your background and mention the connection to India? But the connection to India isn't just like the time that you've spent there. The connection is now. It's yesterday. It's last week. It's tomorrow. You're very attuned, and not every viewer is going to appreciate the depth to which every guest on the show is attuned this way, that way, maybe not sometimes as attuned, who knows? But can you describe how you're kind of plugged in and extremely open?
Yeah, I mean, to do that, I just need to give a bit of context. You know, as you said, I was born in the UK. I'm originally from the UK, and I was raised a Catholic. And but, you know, all of that said, you know, I used to go to church and I used to do all the practices that go along with the Catholic faith. But there was always something deeper that I felt. There was this pull. There was a resonance with yoga. And nobody in my family was studying yoga, but I just always wanted to learn to meditate, and I always wanted to learn how to practice yoga. And so I bought a book when I was very young and started, you know, learning how to do the asanas. And then fast forward to when I was 33, I think. Yeah, I was 33. I had a lucid dream, and I was given Shaktipat Diksha, which is the awakening of the Kundalini. I was given a tap on the head, and that awakened this energy within me, the spiritual energy within me. And from that tap, my entire life changed little by little, but it really changed. And the great being that gave me Shaktipat, his name was Bhagavan Nityananda of Ganeshpuri. And to cut a long story short, with that tap, these incredible siddhis, the supernatural powers, just exploded. I'd always been intuitive. I'd always had out-of-body experiences, angelic visitations, and all of those things. But after Shaktipat, it was literally like there was no limit to any of it. And I started having even more dreams with great beings from the Tibetan path as well. And Native American shamans came, Sufi masters came. And so they were giving me teachings and initiations, and they were preparing me. I didn't know it then, but they were preparing me to later write and speak about authentic spirituality and the importance of listening to and honoring your own inner guidance. Even if you think you're an atheist, or even if you think, you're a staunch Christian and, there's no such thing as the siddhis, the supernatural powers, or you're a bit afraid of them, however that looks for you, the important thing is always to listen to your own inner guidance, listen to your heart, and to follow wherever that is leading you to. Mm. So that, in a nutshell, is my connection with India that has grown. When I was given Shaktipat Diksha, that was in 1989. And the connection that I have with those great beings and with India has really developed and grown to the point that I used to have to meditate or take a walk on the beach to get guidance. And now it doesn't matter where I am, what is happening or anything, even in the middle of a crazy day, sitting in traffic or whatever. If there's a question, I'll ask a question, and then I get the answer immediately. It just lands in my heart, in my space. And then I'll also know when someone, a friend or a colleague or someone is thinking of me or wants to connect with me. They have a question. I kind of know what it is before the email lands or before I get the phone call. So, and everything that I'm speaking about is really relevant with respect to what Hafiz and Rumi and the great poet saints have written about, and Lord Jesus and all these great beings. And Bhagavan Nityananda of Ganeshpuri, he always said, the heart is the hub of all sacred places. Go there and roam. And this is the meeting place. This when you drop out of the mind and come into the heart, into this sacred space. It's one space, actually. It's not like, we think of the heart as a physical heart, but it's really it's that sacred space. It's that portal. It's that meeting place where if we have a question, and you can go around with questions, roll around in your mind for, hours or days. But once you drop into the heart and into the silence of the heart, then answers are always given. And we know this, it's not like this is new. We've all been there. We've all struggled with a question. Should I do this? Should I do that? What to do here, what to do there. And the minute you leave the question, you let it fall away. You go take a walk in nature, or you sit and look at the sky, or watch the sunset, or whatever. An answer appears. It seems to arise of its own accord. And it's because it comes out of this sacred space. And it's always available to us. But, we can get lost in the mind loops and feel like we're a million miles away from receiving an answer.
Yeah, the doorless door, the gateless gate, opening openness. I'm not going to challenge you to ask or to tell us what I'm going to ask next as one of those people who's thinking of you right now. But I'm going to give a hint. We're going to talk about your books in just 1 second. I am going to do something very early. I'm going to light sage. We'll do that for 10 seconds. And then I'll put Anandamayi Ma up for a quick reminder for us all, from her to you to us. And thank you for that beautiful start to this. So I need a lighter. I need sage. I've been running, folks. I'm going to look a little out of it. It's a really hot day in Texas. I got zapped in the heat and took a little 15-minute nap, but all is well. I'm lighting some sage. You may already be catching it before I light the sage, as I light the sage. We got no smoke yet. If you're at home just checking in for the first time, it doesn't matter what year it is. You're in Germany, New Zealand, Japan, Tokyo, India, catch the sage. You got no limits when you're in your heart. So you got to get out of your thinking, which why worry about how to do it? Just ask angels, the universe, ask Ganesh to get you out of your head, Sri Shirdi Sai Baba, into your heart, and catch some sage. But why settle for linear? Get flowers. Get temple incense as well. And if you want to breathe through your mouth, it's like turning up the volume. Julie in the Bahamas. Are you already getting at least sage flowers? Are you getting temple incense as well?
Yes, I'm getting it all. Thank you.
Oh, yay. And that was something we kind of mentioned before the show, that the more temple incense during the show, the more fun you're going to be having. It's to keep you on your toes, to keep us on our toes. What does that mean? It just means being more alive, more paying attention, more where you put your focus is where you put your focus. Awareness. That might be one of those topics after your books. One Anandamayi Ma coming up. She'll have a reminder. You'll be able to go on for this about, well, can I do Sri Shirdi Sai Baba? We're coming back to her. I got him up already. Here's Sri Shirdi Sai Baba, the one from 100 plus years ago. What's he have as a reminder for us all?
To stay in your heart and to really listen to what your heart is saying, because it never fails us. It never does.
Your books. Tell us about your books. Are there more coming? Have you tried to take a break? You're fighting it, but is there a little whisper coming in that you're like, yes, it's getting to be time for another one?
Maybe I never say yes or no. I just wait for that to land. But I've been quite busy with my YouTube channel, actually. That's been a lot of fun. I'm interviewing really cool people, mystics, healers, near-death experiences. So that's taken a little time. As you know, it can be quite full on. But yeah, my first book is titled An Awakened Life, A Journey of Transformation. And that's essentially the story of what happened. And the reason I wrote that was because so many people asked, can you tell us the story? And also I had a lucid dream with one of the great beings, and she said, when are you writing the book? And my response was, well, what am I supposed to write about? And she gave me one of those looks as if to say, come on, don't be such a dummy. And so that just kind of came on its own accord, and I was just writing it down. It was like it was being dictated. So that's the first book that details all of that. And the next book is Living an Awakened Life. And that is just kind of short anecdotes that I describe these experiences from my own life that were challenging. And then, which are, it's everybody's story at the end of the day, right? How do you deal with a work challenge? How do you work with a relationship issue? What do you do about utilizing your creativity if you're not sure about what to do and how to manage it? So I give those as examples, and then I give some self-inquiry exercises that are very easy, simple to do, accessible, and a lot of fun. And again, it doesn't matter what background or orientation you have. It's really for everybody. And then I've written a book on lucid dreaming, how to lucid dream, and how to pay attention in your waking state so that you can initiate your own lucid dreaming and being awake in the dream. And then I've written 2 books on shadow work and the importance of doing shadow work, confronting the darkness of your psyche, being honest about, where you're pulling back, where you're holding back, what you're afraid of, looking at those patterns and the inherited loops and all of that, and really tackling it so that you can live a more abundant, expansive life. So those have been very popular. And again, for anybody and everybody, depending on, doesn't matter where you are on your spiritual journey or whether you've done shadow work before, it's straightforward and very easy to do. So
Mm. Talk to us about awareness, cultivating one's awareness. I mean, you've got it, you just don't know it. You're probably using a lot, you're doing a lot of stuff unconsciously. I guess flipping the switch might be just being more conscious about what you're doing already daily and appreciating it. But how do you describe awareness and how it's coming in for all of us? Whether we're talking a 50-year stretch, 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months, who knows, 5 seasons. How do you describe this thing called awareness, consciousness for mankind, for all of us? Is it already here?
yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's our true nature. Supreme consciousness is your true nature. But what happens is we identify with the story. We identify with, who we think we are in terms of, our schooling and where we've been and what our plans are and what we hope to do and all of those things. But if you're actually honest with yourself, to be able to tell any story, but certainly to be able to tell your own story, there must be this place from which you're seeing your story from, the place prior to the story. That is the self or supreme consciousness or awareness or whatever you want to call it. And it's just really a case of kind of leaning back away from being so in the story you're not, even paying attention to what's in front of you, and pausing and just taking note of what is here. One of the things, I think one of the big things that we're all being challenged by is data and internet, being on the internet and our devices, and you can so easily be kind of hypnotized into spending the whole day just plugged into your handheld device or your iPad or computer or whatever, and not giving yourself time to just step back from it and be quiet and listen. And especially now that we have AI as well, that we're all trying to sort of manage or move away from, or I don't know, figure out, how to utilize it. It's really important to utilize it safely, but to, more than anything, to really trust. What I say is trust IA, and trust your own intuitive authority over trusting what you're being shown, because what you're being shown isn't necessarily true, or it's not even necessarily good for you, and it's a drain on your energy. I mean, as we know, you can pick up your phone and you can be on your phone 3 hours later just scrolling if you're not careful. So, and that takes away from your own awareness. It robs you of your own capacity to be present in your own life. So, it's really important to put your device down and just take a break, and again, be mindful of what you're taking in.
And you're quite accustomed to folks coming to you out of the blue from all over the world, because you do stuff globally, with just the usual smorgasbord of setups in life. They've got, my problem is, my situation is, this is my life story, it's happened to me. You help folks sort things out and get flowing, tapping again what they've got. Can you describe to us how you do it? Is it somebody comes over the transom and you get a taste of what they're about ahead of time, so you kind of know which category they fall into and gently how to handle it?
Yeah, I mean, it took me a long time to realize what was happening, but very soon after receiving Shaktipat and, this huge kind of transmission, what I noticed was when people came to me, even if they were just friends, or chatting to somebody online at the food store, I would know what their issues were, what their stumbling blocks were. I could see them as patterns. I could see where they were, kind of stalling or blocking that person from being able to move forward in a healthy way. So what happens is when somebody reaches out to me, I'll sometimes have a conversation with them, not always. They just might just send me an email and say, I want to, book a session with you. And then prior to going on, I do puja, I do the invocations and all of those things. But I already know what I'm going to speak to. And I speak to that. We have conversations about that. We look at ways that those kind of resistances or obstacles can be resolved and let go of. And there's sometimes some homework, because it's important to take practical action rather than sitting there agreeing, having a conversation, and then not doing anything as a follow-up. So I can't say A, B, C, D, E, and this is how it works, because it's about seeing energy patterns, beliefs, and these old systems in someone's energy matrix, and then I'll point to and speak to that. And it's really transformational. And so people are able to then move forward in their lives in ways that they haven't been able to before.
And how do you keep from going super broad on this to the point where you almost couldn't help anybody anymore? You just see the broad picture, you're swimming in it. How do you stay grounded, stay focused on helping others? It's a form of compassion, gentleness, kindness. Wouldn't it be easy if you didn't stay connected to here, to kind of float a little bit more? Do you understand the question on that?
I think I do. I think what you're saying, if I'm hearing it right, is how do I stay grounded when I'm seeing, the whole,
And you stay in the game helping others.
Yeah, well, one of the things is, by profession, I'm an educator. I teach in school, and so I've always had to be very grounded to be able to deal with kids and teenagers and so on. So I guess that's a big part of the training as well, to be able to be in that space, to hold that space for 20 or 30 students or however many there are, and know specifically what one child might need over here, who's maybe not even saying anything. So it's all about understanding the energy and the kind of the energetics of it, and then speaking to that, but being really, as you said, being really grounded when I'm doing it. So, coming back to when I work with clients, it can be very, very specific. I remember when a new client came to see me, and the first thing I said to her was, "You're really unhappy in your relationship, and it's not working for you." And she just started to cry and cry and cry. She'd been married for 10 years or something like that. And then we kind of went from there. But I gave her pointers and I certainly wasn't suggesting, quit your marriage and, disappear. But I was giving her things that she could work on to be able to resolve the pain that she was in. So, all of that is, again, I guess it's the flow of grace, the way grace manifests after an authentic awakening. And this is how it manifested in my life. In your life, obviously, you're here supporting people in a very different way, and bringing them into center, and connecting them with what feels right for them. And you're doing it in a much more sort of creative way. And we're all doing it differently, but the point is that it's really the flow of grace that has brought us to where we are. And it's really that does the work. We're just the vehicles for it, really.
I've got Anandamayi Ma for you. If you don't mind, this is going to be a left-hand turn. You didn't expect this. Get 3 compliments from her. You can censor one of them that you might want to share out loud, but the point is, the 4th thing she'll do is give you a topic to talk about, a reminder. But 3 compliments first. You earned it. And breathe, 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 breathe. At home, you can put your hand out and feel her energy. Very high vibe figure from India, loving. Compassion, compassion, compassion. And if anybody wants to catch an Indian temple incense smell in the air, wonderful. Do so. If you really are gutsy, close your eyes, have her give you a kiss on the forehead, a light kiss on the upper cheek. And is there a censored way you can share one of the compliments? We don't want you to get all heady or anything like that. I don't think we have to worry about that with you in the slightest. But what did she say about you that you could share? Have her rephrase it for public consumption.
Yeah, I don't need to rephrase it, because
Oh, good. Okay, then
what she said was, always speak your truth.
Oh, yes.
And of course, you can only speak your truth if you're aligned with your heart.
Okay, Julie, what did she tell you? What can you share with us? Something from the heart?
Yes, she said, always speak the truth. And the reason, what I understood from that, is the only way you can speak the truth is when you speak from the heart. If you're in the mind, the function of the mind is to think and to doubt, right? There's always this kind of yes, but going on. But when you're in your heart, you just know the truth is the truth. You feel it. And if you speak from that place, then it has the power to transform not only you, but everyone that you share with. It's exquisite.
Hmm. And now the next question coming your way will be, how can people just take 3 small moments during their day to lighten up a little bit? First, I want to explain for the audience why I was grinning ear to ear. We had the camera freeze, and so she had given the answer. I knew that it was an answer that had to do with the heart. I worked that into the question. That was making me laugh. I think it was making Julie smile a little as well. Back to now, I bought you a little bit of time. What are the 3 suggestions that we can all do daily just to not carry that ancient burden of self-importance, thinking the usual suspects that we're all, have as a knapsack on our back all day long? How can we just twirl more, sing more, be happy, have tea, wave to a stranger for no reason whatsoever? What's the secret?
Well, what's helped me was learning many years ago, and I learned to meditate, that when I sat to meditate, I was told to put my thumb and forefinger in what is called Chin Mudra. And Chin Mudra is, it's well known that when you meditate, you can sit with your hands like this, or you can sit with your hands on your knees. But the whole idea with this is it closes the energy so that the energy circulates around the body. So, and it's such a simple thing, but as I'm going about my day, and especially when I first learned to meditate decades ago, I would, when I was at work and it was crazy and there was meetings going on, whatever, I would just do this. And nobody knows you're doing it. I'd sit in meetings with my thumb and finger in Chin Mudra, and it just brought me straight back to center and into my heart. And I've always done it. It's really easy. Another thing that I learned to do was whenever I'm going into a building, whether it's a store or an office or something, I always step in with the right foot. And I'll sometimes shuffle to, put my right foot so that it goes across the threshold. And again, that's another reminder that I am the self, I am supreme consciousness, I am one with God. Whatever phrase you want to utilize to bring you back to center. So that's another very simple thing. And, these are physical things that you're doing. Nobody else knows. It's very simple to do. So that's the second one that I've always done. And then I've always utilized the mantra that Bhagavan Nityananda gave me, years ago, which is Om Namah Shivaya. Om is the primordial sound. Nama means I bow to, and Shiva is supreme consciousness. So I'll do that japa, that mental repetition as I'm going about the day. And those 3 simple things absolutely, transform everything.
How about this? How would you describe exercise for folks?
I would describe, I'd say do whatever feels great for you. I mean, while I've been, on vacation, I've been doing Pilates just about every day, which I love. I have an instructor that used to be with the Alvin Ailey dancers. So he's really amazing. So I love it. And I also do yoga and, power walking, swimming, you name it. But the point is that you're moving the body, which is really important. And while you're doing it, you're being mindful. You're paying attention to your breath, to the movement, listening to the sound. If you're walking, the sound of your footsteps and so on, and just enjoying the day and getting out and about and smiling. That's another thing that I do all the time. because the more you smile, the more of that kind of open, awakening energy you're giving out, not to just to other people, but for yourself too, because you're connecting with your heart space. So for me, it's always about, again, exercise is always about, obviously conditioning for the body, which is great, but also about recognizing the self, remembering the self, honoring the self. And when I say the self, I mean the supreme self, capital S, and honoring the truth of who we are.
Can you describe the Bahamas for us energetically for you? If it hadn't been working out, you wouldn't be there for so long.
Yeah, so there is a kind of a well-known myth Bahamians often speak about, and they'll say the waters here are very unique and very special. And because of Atlantis, they say Atlantis was here, and there've been some unusual things that have been found under the water here. And then we're in the sort of Bermuda Triangle, if you believe in all of that. But so there's some very sacred places here in the Bahamas. So it does have an energy that feels very expansive, and that was certainly something I felt when I first came here. There's a beauty of the Bahamas, but there's also the beauty of the people. I mean, the thing that I've always said is, when I came to the Bahamas, I fell in love with the Bahamas, but more than anything, I fell in love with the Bahamian people, because they're really open, very warm, and very friendly. And just as an example, when you fly in and you take a cab, my husband and I just flew back from the UK last week, and this lady picked us up. She's a cab driver. They tell you their life story in a 35-40 minute drive, and you're laughing and joking, and they're just so delightfully open, and it's really beautiful. And that's that's what I love about the Bahamas.
I love it. Okay, Ganesh, as some people say, Ganesha is coming up next. We can get a topic or some flavor and go from there. It'll just be 1 second. Here we go. Anybody at home who wants to put a hand out, though, and feel through 3 screens, iPhone, my computer, your computer, feel the vibe. If you want to breathe 1 millimeter mouth open, just breathing through the mouth. I just had an expert the other day validate that. They said that's actually the way to get out of the head, brain into the body. And I was like, oh yeah, okay. And hear what you can hear. If you have a private question, ask and listen. It'll sound like your voice for 1 second. The second you really let go, you'll hear Ganesh's voice. What are you getting from Ganesh that you can share with us? And this should be a spot-on topic that you're like, oh yes.
Yes. So, Lord Ganesha is the remover of obstacles. That's what he's known for. And what the message I just got is, the biggest obstacle is yourself. And that's the truth, because we often don't realize we're the ones that are creating the obstacles, the what ifs. Should I do this? Should I do that? Or, there can be fear, especially if you're being called into action with respect to doing something you've never done before. So it's really about trusting and knowing that you'll have all the support you need if you do need a little bit of help when you're asked to do something.
Can you share with us a time that it was beyond serendipity or synchronicity, but you were like, whoa, and you still think back to it today? It's inspirational. It's a reminder that the universe, what you said at the opening, it's really big. And it can help keep you on your path on those days that it feels hard. Welcome to being human and doing a lot of thinking. What's one of those moments that you can share with us that was extraordinary?
Well, quite honestly, there are so many, but there is one cool story that I have that's always fun to remember, and that is in the 90s, I think it was. There was a program, a month-long program that was being advertised at an ashram in upstate New York. And I really wanted to go, but it was a high-ticket, event. And then there were the airfares to take care of, accommodation, food, hiring a car. For my husband and I, it was a fair chunk of money. And I wanted to go. And we were also going to fly to the UK to see family. So that was a huge expense. And so I was trying to figure out, how can we do both? So I just got this kind of download. Well, if you create an intention, then it will manifest. So I created an intention, and back then you could call up and you could make reservations on your flights. So I did that for the flights to New York. And then I said, okay, guys, if I'm meant to go on this retreat, which I'd love to go to because I think it's going to be important, I need some money. We need the money to be able to go. So, and my husband was up for it, but you know, nothing was happening. And then a few days later, I got a call from my neighbor, and she said, "Hey, Julie, are you available? There's a movie being shot here in Nassau, and it's by Gerard Depardieu. He's in it. You know, the French actor. And I'm looking for." She said, "I'm getting extras. Would you be available for a day or two?" So I said, "Yeah, great. You know, it sounds like fun." And what happened was we ended up being used for 3.5 weeks, which led us up to the day before. And, you know, when we started, I realized, hey, we're going to get more than enough money to be able to cover the cost of this retreat. And what happened was we were kept filming until the day before we were due to fly out to go on the retreat. And when they paid us, it was down to the last cent, the full amount of the retreat. And then my husband said, and I was talking with him about it, and he said, "Oh, wow, this is amazing. In fact, we're $50 over." So he said, "Oh, great." So we get to the airport, and there was a $25 charge to leave. They called it a leaving fee or something. Anyway, I don't know whether that happens anymore, but it was literally down to the last cent that was covered, and it was so bizarre. And what happened was we were extras, yeah, in this movie, and there was a scene on the water in a little wooden boat, and a storm kicked up. There was this huge storm, and there was a problem with the boat, and they kept having to reshoot. So it was 3.5 weeks filming, and it was supposed to have been a day.
Oh my God. That's awesome. And I'm going to mention another guest who's in the next year. I couldn't tell you when, but it's a pretty well-known name, Lee Woodruff, Good Morning America reporter. Also, I think it was ABC News and a bunch of places, author. Husband Bob Woodruff was taking over for Peter Jennings when he had the mishap or the tragic accident in Iraq. But my point is, she has a similar parallel story of maybe meeting her sister, not wanting to, and then going to upstate New York for a meditation retreat. Do you mind naming the ashram where you went to?
Yes, it's the Sri Muktananda Ashram.
Okay.
Yeah,
In case I have her back, we'll make sure she says that on air, because she's lying there. There's a bunch of people lying there, and there's we'll just say a master, a teacher walking by. But she wasn't really all in, I think, is the way she told the story. People have to check out the Lee Woodruff episode. But at some point, she relaxed on the mat. She could feel the person coming by. And as they came by, without touching her on the head, she got touched on the head. And that began her whole shebang. And so
yes.
I just wanted to do a teaser for people who like to keep track of these shows to go check out the Lee Woodruff thing, because I immediately thought it was very parallel. And there's a good chance, since it was upstate New York, that it was the same place. There aren't a ton of them.
No.
Yes, it would be a small coincidence. Okay, I'm going to get you one more figure from India, he says. Let's do whichever one comes up first. Actually, with your permission, is it okay to do a Jinn who's East Asian mysticism? He's like the Encyclopedia Britannica meets the Energizer Bunny, pure love, petite fellow, 4'4" or so, kind of like a little Winnie the Pooh, but been around for eons.
Oh, yes.
Immaculate Oriental garb. He talks like this. I'll make it sound like a Brooklyn accent, but it's supposed to be Asian. I told the dogs not to go in the garden.
Yeah.
Okay. And what does he have a reminder for us all? And his eyebrows, by the way, can turn into clouds and move, even though it's a historical photo. Photos can move. And so you can see even white light around the room at home if you're already on board with all this. What's he have a reminder for us all?
Take action. He's saying take action. If you have a dream or a vision or something that you're compelled to do, don't sit on it. Just get moving with it, because time goes.
Okay. If you were to have to venture, like, what's going to be unfolding for you in the future? Good luck with that. But I'm talking books, retreats, some sort of a workshop somewhere. Is there something you've been mulling around that you can kind of give us a hint on that would be fun for you? Is it a manifesting class? Is it just a this and a that, an apple, papaya, strawberry, banana? What can you share with us that might be around the corner?
Yeah, I'm currently working on events that speak to samyama. And samyama is about kind of downloading or being in source itself. And that's, when you feel aligned and bringing that energy into your life and living from that space purposefully. Rather than being distracted or allowing yourself to, as I just said, sitting on projects, sitting on things that you've always wanted to do and haven't allowed yourself to do, and really owning the truth that you are always connected with divinity. There's no, you don't even have to kind of work to get into it, so to speak. We're kind of trained or hypnotized into believing that we're separate and we've got to do a retreat or meditate to get back to that place. And that's just so far from the truth. The truth is you are already one with source itself. There is no separation at all. There never has been. And the important thing is to recognize that and wake up to that. And how do you do that? You do that by listening to your own inner guidance and trusting it, rather than asking, if you get like a download to, let's say, create a blog or write a book or something, instead of running it by 10 or 15 or 20 different people, just listen to that, honor that, and start moving, start utilizing it, and again, trust your intuitive guidance, your intuitive authority, rather than just kind of frittering it away,
Lovely. I've got some random quotes for you, but they won't be too random. 18 pages of quotes here. The first one is a Don Miguel Ruiz quote that's pretty famous. He's got those 4 tenets from his original book, The 4 Agreements. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions. Always do your best. Here's another one from Einstein. A man should look for what is and not for what he thinks should be. And here's a final one. We'll get any reaction you have to any or all of them. And it's another Albert Einstein one. Go figure. The only source of knowledge is experience. Between those 3, what's your reaction?
Well, I think they're all really great. I think what's important is, again, trust what you resonate with. Listen to that, because when there's a resonance, it's energy vibrating and moving and pointing you to something that you need to pay attention to. So there isn't any one of them that stands out, but they all have, I think, importance, and they're all authentic.
And jumping to a totally different topic, do you do monthly physical pujas, or is it more energetically speaking? Like, it might not be practical on a Bahamian island, but it may very well be. Which way do you roll with that?
Well, I go to my puja pretty much every day, actually. And before coming on this, this interview or session or whatever you want to call it with you, I went to my puja, lit my incense, and did my mantras. I always do. And as I go about the day, I'm praying and repeating mantras and paying attention. And all of that is practice. It's all spiritual practice. I don't, I used to sit and meditate for hours and hours and chant for hours in the early days. I don't do that now. Because life is meditation, and you're paying attention. It's meditation.
Well, I'll have
So
one more figure for you on this show because you just said it the way you said it. It reminded me of Thich Nhat Hanh. And so, pieces every step, everything is your awakening, everything is your opportunity for growth. I'll borrow from Chogyam Trungpa. Now is always the occasion. And there's a little more to the quote that I'm forgetting, but it was close enough. Here's Thich Nhat Hanh for you.
yes.
And if you want to see a little bit of golden light in the room, flecks, rainbow, hearts, something, green clovers, except gold tint on everything. And what does he have as a reminder?
Pay attention. That's it. Pay attention.
Julie, what do you want to leave us with? You've got your own show. You know how to close out a show. You've been a guest on a lot of shows. You've done a lot of speaking engagements. What's a final bit of inspiration for us all?
I would say, my message has never changed, no matter who I'm speaking to or what I'm writing about. It's always about trust your own inner knowing. Listen to what you're being guided to do. You can feel it, right? You can feel when something feels right for you and when it doesn't. And if you can live in accordance with that, you'll never go far wrong, ever.
Brilliant, Julie. Julie Hoyle in the Bahamas. Wonderful guest. Thank you so much for joining us again on this channel. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.